Welcome to the Force Dyad Podcast, a Star Wars-centric podcast which aims to connect us fans to our fandom. Each episode, we discuss recent shows, movies, and what's new in books, comics, and gaming. We share our favorite theories and touch on our collectible hobbies, all in an effort to connect the galaxy far, far away to our own. And welcome to episode 13 of the Force Dyad Podcast. It's me, Jedi-John, back with...
Obi-Sean. How we doing?
Oh, doing great. We are here tonight to cover the first three issues of Star Wars The High Republic, the Marvel comic. Should be a lot of fun there. And then we're going to recap. It's been a couple weeks since we've been together, so we're going to go over Disney Gallery. The latest episode came out featuring the Mandalorian finale for season 2, which was the one we were missing. So looking forward to that. And then a little bit of toy news, just because we got some new releases hitting your local Walmarts, which, well, it's a hunt. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and roll right with the socials there. Obi-Sean, take it away.
Yes. Okay. So if you haven't yet, join us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So Twitter, you can find us at Force Dyad Pod, and then Facebook and Instagram, we are at Force Dyad Podcast. And some other fun news while we're talking about the social stuff is we are working on a website. We will be officially a .com.
Oh, yes.
I mean, technically we are official, but the site hasn't launched yet. But it'll be fun. We'll have some in-depth reviews, comics, books, but we can also do like video games and toy stuff as well. And then we'll have a merch store where you'll be able to get some t-shirts, hats, and maybe, just maybe, we'll turn it into kind of like a semi-collectible shop too, where perhaps we'll sell some of our wares that we've been stockpiling, as far as action figures for Jedi-John, pops for Jedi-John, and maybe Lego for myself. So lots of fun stuff there. But yeah, join us on one of our social channels. Hit us up. Let's talk. Let's have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. We love talking to everybody. I mean, it's a good time when we can go back and forth over something. Boy. Oh.
Well, it's been a while since we've recorded.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man.
I think it's been like 2.5-ish, 3 weeks, something like that. Life's been fun.
Yes.
It's just been busy.
Fun but busy. Yeah. Work's been busy. Life's been busy.
And football is gearing up.
Football's gearing up, so
all the fantasy football drafts are taking what free nights we have.
Yeah. Last week we were planning out nights, and we were just like, well, what about this night? Oh, we have a fantasy draft. Oh, well, what about next Sunday? Oh, we have a fantasy draft. I mean, it's been testing of the time off, so to speak. But it's all good now. Now we're through them all. I think are you done with them? I'm done with mine.
I'm proud of myself because I've significantly reduced the number of leagues I've been in over the last 3 or 4 years. I used to run like 4 or 5 leagues.
Yeah.
Or not run, but participate in. Now I have 2.
Yeah.
I have 2 leagues.
I'm jealous.
That I care about. I am in a 3rd league with some family that's just for fun. We auto-drafted at like 2 a.m. yesterday morning, so because we play with some people in Europe too. So, but I have 2 leagues that there's money on the line.
Yeah. I somehow found myself in 4 leagues with money on the line, and then a 5th league that drafted. I showed that to you the other day. It was horrific. An auto draft.
Share with our listening.
I'm sure
audience.
They all care about fantasy football. They're here for Star Wars. Some might though. But some of the scoring in this league is special, and also the roster spots are also equally special. It looks like we got 3 QBs. What did I tell you? 4 wideouts are starting. Only 2 running backs still.
But you also have a flex.
And then we have a flex. We've got a kicker, a team defense, and then we're playing an IDP, and just the cornerback position. Right. Nothing else, just the corner.
And they get 13 points?
13 points per individual tackle.
Per tackle.
So that corner is going to be really valuable, I feel like.
And that kicker. Your kicker gets a point for
Oh,
how many?
Yes, every 5 yards is an extra point for a kick.
So so if you've got the kicker for Atlanta who
He's going to kick 50-yard bombs all year.
yeah, that's 10 points on top of
the 5.
the 5-point bonus that he gets for a 50-yarder.
Yep.
So yeah, 15 points for one kick. It reminds me of the
I do have the Atlanta kicker.
so you basically won the whole championship already.
I mean, we'll see.
It's like the league, our league, the one that's we've had now for 18 years, where we actually used to have that, where it was a 3-4-5 thing, and somebody had the Giants kicker or something from 10 years ago, and he scored more points than some of the quarterbacks did.
Yeah.
So.
And then they voted, no more.
And we're not doing that anymore.
No more bonuses. Sorry, you get 3. 3 is what you'll get. No more, no less.
The number shall be 3. So yeah, but the season kicks off Thursday.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
So football's here. College football has been, and I know we're segueing into a sports segment here, but might as well. I mean, college football really took off this weekend. A lot of good games.
Really took off. I watched none of it.
Well, I mean, do you have a team that you pull for?
No, don't care.
All right. Well, my Gophers got beat up pretty bad by. Actually, we didn't. We shot ourselves in the foot, and we only lost by 2 scores to Ohio State. So
it's a pretty good game.
It wasn't terrible. We did lose our star running back for the whole year, though. So that's kind of bad.
Yeah. That was game 1?
Game 1, yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
good.
Yeah. I think he popped like his Achilles or something.
Oh, yeah.
It's not good. Anyways, I guess that's enough sports talk.
But yeah, good football. I don't want to talk about baseball because I'm angry.
I don't watch. I don't get to watch baseball.
That's smart.
Well, because I have Hulu, and Bally's apparently hates Hulu.
Yeah, we dropped a 5-run lead in the 9th inning.
I did. Yes,
yesterday.
the walk-off grand slam.
Yes, yeah, really awesome. Just poor Cardinals nation.
That
Poor
does not
Cardinals
happen
nation.
frequently.
No, that's one that's special. That's a real special one to be on the wrong side of.
At least it was to the Brewers, who are already
sure
so far ahead
that makes me
that
feel
we
really
can't
good
catch
about
them.
it. Yeah. Anyway,
Would have been worse if it was the Reds.
it would have been worse. I agree, but they don't have anybody on their team that would do that. So,
That's true.
They don't load the bases. Sorry, Reds fans out there. All right. Well, that's our sports segue for the day.
Join us next week when we gripe about our sports teams again.
Can't wait. All right. So let's dive right into the High Republic here. I guess for our listeners that have no clue what the High Republic is, we should probably just paint the nice picture of where we're at in the Star Wars universe, which I believe happens roughly 200 to 230 years before the sequels.
Correct.
And is considered when the Jedi were at the height of their power as far as their reach in the universe, so to speak. And then
I mean their sway, their allure, their standing with the community, the galaxy. It's never been brighter. And
I would argue that this is probably when they had the most Jedi population, like the largest Jedi population.
Oh, probably.
Yeah. Even compared to, because we saw the sequels and we saw what they were building at that point. And it was almost like they had an army of Jedi in some cases, or at least younglings coming through,
Right.
But at this time, it seems like they are all over the galaxy. Whereas in the sequels, they didn't really go all over the galaxy until they were forming the Republic. Well, excuse me, until they were fighting the Separatists.
Right, the Grand Army, the Grand Army of the Republic.
They were defending the Republic.
Yeah, and something to note too is they're expanding. A lot of the discussion in the comics and the books centers around a specific outpost that they're building in the Outer Rim called Starlight Beacon, which is it's a public work, a great work of the Chancellor, but it's meant to basically bring the Outer Rim into the fold with the mid rim and the core worlds to make it so that it is one galaxy. We are all the Republic is the slogan for the Chancellor for these great works. And so the comics begin after Light of the Jedi, which was the first adult novel.
First novel that came out for the High Republic.
Correct.
Written by
Charles Soule.
Charles Soule. Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, if you haven't read that yet, the comics won't spoil anything for you. You just might be confused as to kind of some of the cells, some of the scenes, what's going on. This doesn't make a lot of sense. It is better explained in the book. It'll make a lot more sense. And so I actually read some of these before I finished Light of the Jedi, and then when I went back through and I reread the comics, that is, it's like, oh, that's what's happening in the scene, and it actually helps you connect, I feel, with the characters in the comics a bit better.
Because there's multiple overlaps as far as characters go, but there are new characters that you had not seen yet. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that there's some crossovers with the young adult novels as well, with the first, and the name of the book is escaping me at this time, but
it's the Claudia Gray novels, right? Is that the one you're thinking of?
Yeah, because Out of the Shadows because Out of the Shadows and Race to Crash Point Tower just came out, so it was Out of the Shadows. No, that was the one I just said. Anyways, that book, and I know you're looking it up right now, was the young adult entrance into the High Republic, where Light of the Jedi was the adult novel. So, but there is some crossover with that book too.
Into the Dark.
Into the Dark. Thank you. That is it. And so there are some characters in the comics that you meet in that book as well. But yeah, you're correct. The main character actually you don't meet anywhere.
She's brand new.
She's brand new, and that is, her name is Keeve Trennis, and we are introduced to her as a Jedi Padawan. Well, I guess a Padawan
in issue
learner.
1. We'll just jump right in.
Yeah, and so you're introduced to Keeve, basically being annoyed by a little critter. They never
critter, yeah.
They never explain or describe what he is. But she's on the planet Sheridan, which is in the Outer Rim, and it's as if she's tracking something, and all the while being, again, kind of heckled or annoyed by this little guy, and out of nowhere she's attacked or ambushed, and the reader, you're like, well, this is quick, and you kind of recognize that the lightsaber color is a friendly color.
Oh yeah, it's blue, right?
It's blue.
It's blue.
So you're like, well, this is either this is not a typical saber color that we expect from an enemy, and then we learn that it's her master, Master Skur, the Transdosion, who we meet briefly in Light of the Jedi. They don't go into a whole lot of backstory on him, so you're not really missing much if this is your first entry into the High Republic. And so she's ambushed. She's kind of complaining, as Padawans do. Think Anakin, and like, why are we here?
Yeah,
kind
of whiny,
and wanting to know about the Jedi trials. And Skier tells her, well, why do you think we're here? And then he sets her on on her trial, on her trial to obtain a medallion
from the very top of
the spire, or these needles, I think he calls them. And while she's climbing them, all the while being followed
just
by
heckled.
What was his name? His name was Kenry. Well, I should have written more legibly.
Poor notes.
This is not good note taking.
But just really not heckled, just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get that, like, if you have no clue what a Jedi is, you kind of get that backstory of what a Jedi is in the world of Star Wars. It's kind of cool. So like, even if you had never seen Star Wars before, you can get a quick glimpse as to what they believe they are.
Right. Well, and I like too, because before she tries to send the needles, Skier's like, "Are you afraid?" And she kind of regurgitates one of her teachings about how there is no fear, only certainty. And Skier's like, there's other, there's more to being a Jedi than just regurgitating the rhetoric. So I which is kind of what you want from a teacher, right? Like, don't just spew out the answer I want to hear.
Yeah.
Right.
If you truly have no fear, that's fine. But if you're just telling me what I want to hear, we're not okay yet.
Right. And so while she's ascending these needles, a horde of, I'm gonna butcher this name. I think it's Ridati or Ridati. They're basically giant locusts. Giant locusts. Like if these came out of the ground every 17 years, like the cicadas, we'd be freaking out.
I believe it.
And so, anyways, they've been set off course because of the Starlight Beacon, and the frequencies that they give out. Basically, they use frequencies in the ground apparently to navigate. And so, the locusts themselves are on the way to destroy the town that our little friend is from. That's been flying around with Kyiv, and she makes the decision to utilize her ship to basically redirect their path and more or less saves the town, or saves the city. And we get back to her on the ground with Skier, and Skier's like, where's my ship? And she just points to the sky. And she's like, I told him you wouldn't be cross. She's like, you're not cross, are you? And I love the writing, not just in this issue, but many of the issues, the way that the wit and the jokes are written. I always feel like it would be hard to convey comedic timing through a thought bubble and everything like that. But I mean, there's sarcasm thrown back and forth.
I mean, Kevin Scott did a great job writing. I mean, it's impressive, really.
It's funny. It's the emotion, as you progress again is quite good. But in any case, to wrap up the first issue, she ends up going back to Starlight Beacon. All the while, we learn that Master Avar Kriss has been put in charge of Starlight Beacon.
As the marshal.
Correct. And that's something that you learn from Light of the Jedi. I won't spoil why that is the case. But let's just say she wasn't supposed to be put in charge. It was kind of a necessity based on some of the events that happened during Light of the Jedi. And so she's now the marshal. Kyiv and Skier come back, and she thinks she's about to be disciplined for the choices that she made,
like abandoning her trial.
Mm-hmm. Only to find that she succeeded in whatever the trial was. Skier deemed it
worthy
of being promoted to a Jedi Knight.
Jedi Knight, yeah.
So she has her braid removed, and it pivots to the dedication ceremony of Starlight Beacon, which again they kind of allude to at a number of times in the book, and so they finally get to do it, and it's really cool because you get all the Jedi on stage, or a lot of Jedi on stage, and they raise up their sabers, saying that Starlight Beacon is the light for the Outer Rim worlds. We are here for you. We are here to connect you, and they say for light and life. And it's kind of like the Jedi mantra, if you will, and you get a visual of Kyiv crying,
shed a tear,
proud of herself that she's passed this first test, and that's really how issue 1 kind of wraps up.
Yeah, we move right into issue 2.
Mm-hmm.
This one it was a fun one. The first issue really got us introduced to the characters we're going to be following, and then the second issue kind of puts them right in the thick of action, and really goes out. So they get a distress signal. They get partnered with the twins, which names are
Tarek and Surette.
Yep. And
basically, they're palindromes.
Right.
Yeah. The names are palindromes, and they're twins that are so. They're basically conjoined without being attached.
Yeah, like if something happens to one, the other one immediately knows.
Correct.
It's kind of crazy.
It's the ultimate twin bond.
Yes, and they get this distress call. They end up going out to the ship, and when they get there, it's been just obliterated. I mean, it's almost no hope. But we figure out that there's life forms still on board, and they get on board and they realize that the entire place has been gassed. which is a common tactic from a known enemy for Skewer. And he realizes right away what it is, and it's
the Nihil.
the Nile.
Yes.
And he knows how dangerous they are, and he has a flashback.
Yeah, that was one of the scenes or the pages where you read it, and if you haven't read the book, you're like, this makes no sense. You'll go through it, and then you kind of flip back and go, what did I just see? And it's a flashback to something that happens towards the end of Light of the Jedi. So.
Yep, and so you can tell he's already been affected by this, and then they get to the main room, and it's they find a dead hut, which is weird for them because why is a hut in that area of space in the first place? And it was multiple. I mean, it wasn't just killed; it was poisoned, like blade stab wounds, gunshot. A little bit of everything.
Yeah, and it's surrounded. The page. It's a full art page, and it actually turns out it's a variant cover because you have one of the variant covers that pulls from this page, and it's just utter chaos. I mean, you've got Gamorrean guards everywhere. You've got the pirates, like the skiff pirates that we see in Return of the Jedi,
strung up
everywhere. Yeah, and then the hut is the center of the room, and so.
I do like this. It kind of shows a different way for the Jedi. Like they are not just protectors or anything else. Like they are like little detectives, and I like it. It gives me that Batman vibe. Like, oh, this is what's happening. This is why. Let's dig deeper into the case and figure out what. I mean, and we've seen it before in TV shows like Clone Wars and stuff like that, where Obi-Wan and Anakin will find something and be like, "We're gonna pull this thread and see how far it takes us." And so it was just kind of cool to see them kind of going around the room finding different clues.
And it's interesting you say that because, again, I keep going back to Light of the Jedi, but there's a bulk of kind of the middle part of the book where that is exactly what happens, where there's two Jedi who are basically sent to figure out why this happened. And so they go and they interview, happens to be the Santecas in the book. And if that name is familiar, that's because Laura Santeca was... in The Force Awakens at the very beginning. It's the same family. And so we'll do a Light of the Jedi kind of recap a different time. But to your point, they're sent kind of on a detective mission to figure out.
Go down the rabbit hole.
Right, exactly.
See how far it goes.
And they utilize their skills as Jedi to manipulate. I'll kind of put that in air quotes.
Yeah.
Certain situations to kind of reveal the information they're trying to figure out.
Yep. And then we get to the point where Sker finds some we said it was barley.
Yeah, it's
a type of barley.
Correct.
Sorry, that has to do with the manufacturing of Bacta, which at the time was the new technology for Bacta tanks, as we all know, but Bacta was still new back then, or newer to them as far as technology goes for medical stuff. So, and then they decide to find the planet that. I'm skipping ahead.
You're,
I'm sure.
You're skipping ahead because there's a big action scene where it's almost it's almost booby trapped. So they come across something on the floor and it triggers an explosion, and they're ambushed by what appears to be a lone
Nihil.
A Nihil who was abandoned, basically. And you see Sker, and this will be a theme that is built on beyond just the 3 books that we talked about today, and it's like this PTSD paired with darkness that is taking him over.
I mean, literally, I got the Anakin with the Tuscans.
Yes.
Like,
very similar.
Pure anger
rage.
And hate and rage. Just, I mean, he cut this guy up.
Oh, yeah.
Like.
Yep. And it actually, to your point about him kind of acting like Anakin or Anakin acting like him, right? Keeve goes, "Did you have to do that?" And he's like, "Do you think he would be dead if there was another way to go about this?" And so, it's...
Yeah, they asked, could you have disarmed him? Well, I
mean, in a way,
did.
he did, I suppose. He disarmed his upper half from his lower half. But again, it just shows... And the artwork, we've kind of talked about it. The artwork does such an amazing job of conveying that rage and feeling that he has when he's taking care of this Nihil marauder. And so like you were saying.
And now we get the orders that we're going down to the planet. And it's even questioned on whether or not he's okay. And he was just like, yep, good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Send me down. So he takes one of the twins down to... Which twin
He
went?
takes Surette.
Surette went with him.
And Tarek stays with Kiev.
Yeah. And so they go down and they get down to the planet. And when they're met by... It's so funny that there's opposition to both sides, right? So, like, you get to a planet and you're there to do the right thing, unquestionably, the right thing, and you still find somebody that's just like, you know what? We don't need you. Please leave.
Yeah, and the guy. So what's his name? His name's Kalo Sulman. He's like the de facto mayor, I guess, of this little settlement, and nobody cares for him. He's like, and we'll later learn that he is very similar to what was the senator's name in the Bad Batch that was in cahoots?
Oh, shoot.
Senator
boy.
Tal.
Ta.
Senator Ta. Yeah. And we'll learn later on in down the road that, there's some dealings behind the scenes.
Sure there are.
As to why, Kalo doesn't want the Jedi sniffing around. But Surette is distracted by and why can't I think of what is Greedo?
Rodian.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He's distracted by a Rodian to follow him into basically these decaying crops because nothing will grow, which is kind of opposite of what you would expect to find given
if you're going to a farmland.
Right. And Surette is actually ambushed and disappears, and we know this because Tarek feels it.
Yeah.
And reacts in a way that is as if he'd been stabbed, basically. And so Avar and Kiev go down to the planet to meet with Skier, and Skier runs through the crops, only to find a lone lightsaber.
Just a lightsaber in the dirt.
Sticking out of the ground.
Yeah.
So, and Surette's gone. And so that's where issue 2 ends.
Now we get to 3.
And we go down the pit.
And we jump right in.
Yeah, I mean, we can just kind of, because there's not a whole lot at the beginning.
No.
Although there is some back and forth between Skier and Avar, because Avar is realizing that something is really wrong with him, and basically tells him to hang back. And so Keith's standing outside the ship, listening to, two Jedi Masters arguing with each other over silly stuff, and all the while she's like, "Oh, okay, well, these people are offering me food. These people are offering me food." And then Kalo comes up again and is like, "We don't need you." Again, this is the second time he's saying, "We don't need you here." And turns out that Surette is not the first person to go missing. That one of the families in town has had their son taken recently. And so she's led to the place where Surette was last seen and is met by a little boy. His name is Bartol.
Okay.
Yes. And he leads her further into the the cropland, basically, and they come across this enormous sinkhole, which he then decides to jump into, because what child doesn't jump into a giant sinkhole?
That's what you're supposed to do.
Of course. And so Keith grabs him with the Force as she jumps down alongside of him. And so now they're in this pit, alone, basically the two of them, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And they pivot back to the ship, and they've brought the Hutt body to Starlight Beacon to analyze. And excuse me.
They start learning a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot in this issue as far as the analysis is concerned. That gets picked up in future issues, which we'll talk about later. But basically, for the third time, Callow is talking with Avar and Skier, and basically he's like, "You guys need to leave," in so many words, and Avar is sent, or excuse me, Avar follows Keeve, or she goes out to find Keeve because Keeve's wandered off, right? And so we're in the pit, and they come across Surette, who's been strung up and entwined in this sort of viney-looking thing. And this is where we're introduced to basically the big bad of of the High Republic comics so far. I will say so far because if you're caught up, there's another enemy that has become present. But to this point, 3 issues in, this is the big bad, and it will remain a big bad even into the later issues. But it's called the Drengir, or Drengir.
The Drengir.
Or, if you've played Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you might say it more Norse. But basically, it's like Audrey 2 on steroids.
That's a good way to put it.
So
that's what it's in the comic. That's what it looks like.
It's like feed me Seymour, because all it says is meat, and I'm reading it straight from the page where we're first introduced to it. So all I can think of is eating. So it's if you haven't read it, just imagine Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors, just covered in vines and about 3 times the size. And
only 3? That's what you're gonna give it?
Well, I mean, the scale with the humans.
The humans are in the front of the picture.
I know. I don't know. Maybe 4. It's large.
It's large. Yeah.
And so, Surette is cut down. Keeve cuts him down, and basically he's saying he's kind of been mind wiped by it, and that seems to be the trend with this being, because what it does is it feeds. It doesn't eat people per se, but it basically drains their nutrients, their life force basically. And so Keeve and Bartol and Surette are cornered, and it looks like the end, right? And it's one of those where as you get towards the end of the issue, things are not looking good. And out of nowhere, Avar drops through the ceiling, or through the roof, through the floor, and drops down, and slices it in half. You're like, oh, this is gonna be great. This is wonderful. We're safe.
We've defeated it.
Only now it's like a Hydra.
Damn Hydras.
So it's Audrey 2 meets the Hydra from Hercules, and so cutting it in half has now created 2.
That's good.
Standalone.
Just a new problems.
Which is more than 1, so not good for those of you doing math at home. And so the issue actually ends with Skier basically possessed by looks like 3 Drengir.
Yes.
And basically says the harvest will be bountiful, the harvest will be pure. And that's where it ends. And so the first 3 issues, like you said, do a really good job of kind of introducing you to, the new characters, the existing characters from the book that maybe you're not familiar with, and do a really good job of setting up the introduction to the big baddie. Now, 4, 5, and 6, which we'll cover in a future episode, basically revolve around the fight that takes place after this. It involves some other third parties, and you get more backstory into what the Drengir are. And so again,
Something to look forward to then.
If you haven't read the comics yet, and you can find them, for a decent price, they're fun read. It's my first comic book that I've ever read, and I said that a few pods ago. And so, as a novice comic book reader, I found it really enjoyable. It's become quite easy to read, and as a Star Wars fan, it's just a fun story. There's some confusion as to what this thing, the Drangir in particular, has to do with. Is it related to the Sith? Because there's some allusion to that in future episodes, future issues. Is it a standalone just thing?
Monster of the week.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that unfolds. And I know that starting with issue 7 and going forward, we're now into the Rising Storm territory where you might be seeing crossovers from the Rising Storm. So I need to get on that as far as reading / listening to it. But I did read issue 7, which is supposed to be kind of the beginning of that crossover. And I didn't notice anything that was too spoilery. So again, even if you haven't read the books, there's nothing that'll really be
super spoiled
or super confusing.
Yeah.
From that. So, but it's a lot of fun. Like we said, the artwork is great. One of the interesting things is how the art changes as you get into later issues. The character design, it's the same, but I don't know if the illustrator is different, or if they're just going for a different look. But it is interesting to see how the artwork changes. And again, the writing is really good. The story itself is solid, and I definitely look forward to each new month's release.
Yeah, I don't think the artist changed as a 5. Well, as a 5, it hasn't changed, but you never know. I don't have 6 in front of me.
Yeah,
so
sick.
Some of it changed.
Some of it
All
changed,
right.
but that's okay.
Anyway, but yeah, and even if you don't want to read it, great. You can come here and we'll recap it for you.
Yeah.
So you can still get the story without even having to read the issues. And then question us on Twitter about our knowledge on it. All right, so we're going to jump right into...
Yeah, well, I was going to say, before we jump into the Disney Gallery, some of the future episodes as far as discussing War of the Bounty Hunter stuff, which now there's 5 different...
Yeah, we'll have a lot of stuff to cover there.
crossovers. So a lot of good stuff as far as the comics are concerned. Not just new stuff relating to High Republic or War of the Bounty Hunters, but the Vader comics, Dr. Aphra, that sort of stuff. So lots of good reading material if that's your jam.
Yeah, sounds good.
So
all right, yeah, and like you said, future episodes will have us recapping War of the Bounty Hunters, and then obviously we still have 4 issues that we haven't covered for the High Republic yet, so we'll cover those. But now we'll get into the most recent episode of the Disney Gallery, and that was the Mandalorian season finale, which when the first Disney Gallery came out for the Mandalorian, last year when it recapped season 1, it was 6 or 7 episodes, I feel like. And then this time they gave us 1 episode, and then when you watched it, you were like, oh, this is cool, this is cool, this is cool. And then it just ended without doing anything for the finale and talking about Luke or anything else. And everyone was just like, why'd that happen? Well, 3 weeks ago, we got it. It officially launched, and it was a whole episode just dedicated to the finale. And we got some cool tidbits. And I think my favorite, our shared favorite one was how they hid the reveal from not just the world, but also their crew, their cast. Only the people that needed to know knew.
Yeah.
And that's crazy to me.
I can't believe in the day of social media. And Mark Hamill even, I think Jon Favreau even talks about it. They both do, about just how easy it is to leak stuff.
Yeah, one leak.
Favreau talked about Ahsoka being leaked, Tamora Morrison being leaked. They never released that stuff. So the fact that Luke made it all the way to the end is a miracle as far as from a film and television point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, pretty crazy. And obviously they had to dress up the script to be something different and look like something different to everybody else because everyone else is reading the script saying, "Oh, Master Plo Koon's coming back." What the heck? They even had artwork drawn up for him, which is I think is insane. Like to really play into the facade, really. Like I mean everything.
Yeah, playing on the they were playing the story hard.
Yeah.
And one thing that I learned that I didn't know, and we talked about before we started recording, that you did know, was that Plo is actually Dave Filoni's favorite Jedi, which, is interesting because Plo's not up there on many, favorite Jedi lists.
Yeah, I just think he was unique when the sequels came out. I mean, he had an orange lightsaber, or yellow lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he was a different. I mean, he was not a humanoid, so like it was a different creature again. And on top of that, then he had something to breathe through.
Mm-hmm.
So like there was a lot of unique things about Plo Koon that made him a favorite.
Well, yeah, and I think obviously our first exposure to him, which you actually probably don't even know it's him, is in the prequel movies.
Yep.
He's in episode 2 at the end, and then he's in episode 3. I think a couple different times, but then he's unceremoniously shot out of the sky at the end of episode 3. But the Clone Wars cartoon,
Yeah, really dives. They use him a lot.
they expand on him a lot. And he's the one, if I'm not mistaken, who he says the thing about the clones where I think one of them says, we're just a number, and he's like, you're not to me, or something like that, where he actually cares about his soldiers in the way that like Pong Krell, for example, didn't,
Didn't.
to say the least.
No, that episode was one of the first times you meet him, I think, and he's his soldiers are running out of air because they're trapped, and he is trying to figure out a solution to save them. But he definitely shows his compassion and how much he cares for others. But and I think that's one of the reasons Filoni.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he wrote that though, so
Yeah.
Cool Jedi nonetheless. But but it's still cool to hide behind somebody, and even Filoni was just like, yeah, if it gets leaked, cool, just chalk it up to me bringing back one of my favorites.
That would have been an interesting retcon.
Again,
Because he's in a ship that appears to explode against the
he
side of
may have crashed, but in Clone Wars, he can breathe in space for a little while.
That's true. That is a good point. But that still would have been an interesting story if that had been it. The interesting thing, one of the things that came out of the gallery that I saw some people commenting about on Twitter was Filoni's discussion around, how is Luke being trained at, post Return of the Jedi, and then pulling in Ahsoka and saying how Ahsoka has more training because she's his senior, which she is.
Yeah, she is, and you forget about that a lot,
right?
It's just and originally we didn't know Ahsoka existed when we knew Luke for the first time,
right? And so I think a lot of people interpreted that statement as him saying that Ahsoka was more powerful than Luke,
but he didn't say that.
But he didn't say that.
He said she had more training.
She had more training, which you could infer that means that she is more skilled, which perhaps she is.
Yeah, but it also doesn't guarantee that.
And it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter either.
But everyone was losing their minds in Twitter arguments back and forth of, Filoni favoritism, with Ahsoka, and what is he saying? And of course, how can Ahsoka be more powerful than Luke? And it's just like, does it really matter? I mean, one of the things in like the expanded universe and Legends that they took after Return of the Jedi was, they were able to expand on Luke's power and Luke's skill, because the original trilogy, he gets to be, or he and Mark Hamill actually says it in the gallery. He goes from farm boy to trainee to Jedi, and then you don't get to see him afterwards. And so, that was one of the things that Mark Hamill himself enjoyed about this last episode was you kind of get to see
What he's up to.
Luke in, maybe ascending into his prime. He's only a few years post Return of the Jedi, so he's not there yet, but he's on his way.
But he's still training to some degree.
So who's training him? Or is he training himself?
Well, I think it's a mixture of both.
Okay.
Because I think he's training himself because he's got the text.
Do you think
I think it's Ghost.
Ghost Yoda is...
Ghost Yoda, Obi-Wan.
Do you think Qui-Gon's helping?
Who knows? Maybe even his father.
Oh, that would be cool, yeah.
So, I mean, it's possible that he communed with multiple different Force ghosts.
That makes sense.
And would help him learn to use a Force better or whatever else. But, dude, that Force crush, just...
Epic.
Sorry. But that was...
It was so good.
Yeah, what a dark side command there.
And I think to the point about the Force Ghost too is, when Luke goes to set up the Jedi Academy, he kind of needs some guidance as to how to do it, and so it wouldn't be far fetched to think that Yoda and those guys would help him with that. But and I've just lost my train of thought. This is beautiful.
You're good.
Anyways, that's fine. The Ahsoka stuff. That was what I was talking about. So, I mean, the concept of Ahsoka being stronger than Luke at this period, I mean, it would make sense to some extent because she just has more extensive training. Doesn't mean she's, quote, better than him or anything like that. And so the whole, and it's one of the major ills of social media is that, someone can take something out of context and then just blow it up for no reason other than interactions.
Right.
Which does nothing to further our enjoyment of.
And it's really easy to stir the pot, though.
Oh, super easy.
Oh my goodness! You can just say one thing that's very one-sided, and it will fire up the masses.
Bring up anything about the sequel trilogy, and
people lose their minds.
Mention this thing, and everyone loses their minds. You see the memes of the Joker from The Dark Knight.
It's amazing. Because I'm a huge fan. You're a huge fan. But it's amazing that we can still have a discussion, even though we were to have different viewpoints on it, and it's not like a screaming match about how you're wrong and how Star Wars sucks. It doesn't suck. It's somebody wrote a story,
and stories are, there's going to be some level of straightforwardness, but it's also open to interpretation. Especially stuff that hasn't been created, and so, that's why. Looking forward to the Ahsoka series will be fun. The Obi-Wan series will be fun because it'll fill in that time period that
I mean, who's not amped for that one,
right?
So, yeah.
I mean, the casting. I mean, all these series, all these sort of anthology series, are going to fill in those
more timeline details.
Book of Boba. I mean, the list goes on.
We got a lot.
And the Bad Batch is filling in that gap in between
Order 66
and Rebels.
Rebels, yeah.
So, but then. The whole, because I think they spent probably 15 minutes or so talking about how do we create young Mark Hamill, and
it was cool. The technology they used was cool.
I mean, the deepfake technology with some of the de-aging technology. I mean, computers. Everyone. I think when we first see Terminator and the machines taking over. I mean, the fact that you can plug in images from. The internet if you want, although they had a lot more archival stuff, and it can intelligently place the correct face at the correct point with the correct lighting. It's just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the server, the
knows?
Processing power to do
amazing.
that?
It's just amazing.
And the fact that they synthesized his voice for the speaking parts, and that was done by machine learning too. They just plugged in a bunch of, high fidelity audio recordings and allowed the robot basically to create a seamless, which if you listen to it, it does sound fake. But the fact that something exists to allow you to bring back the most popular character, maybe next to Darth Vader,
Yeah, in Star Wars history.
ever, for that scene, for what that scene was for season 2, and for the overall arc of Mando and Grogu, and the fact that I called it kind of back in October, before the season ever started. I'm just gonna play that. I'm gonna, because it's the only thing I've ever gotten right ahead of time. But to be able to do that, to be able to be where we are from a technology standpoint, to get that last scene, with the fight, which I realized that part wasn't Mark Hamill, but just to see Luke be Luke.
Yeah.
Was...
I mean, it was goosebumps when I saw the X-Wing. I'm like, it can't be him. It's him. No, it can't be him. And then you see him with a cape, and you're like, no, that's him. And you're like, well, maybe it's not him. Maybe it's somebody else. And then you see the gloved hand, and you're like, oh, no, this is Luke Skywalker, like, really getting amped up all of a sudden. And then, he opens that door after just going through his hallway scene and takes the hood off, and you're just... And if you ever want to relive it, because I have goosebumps now, there are multiple fan reaction videos on YouTube. You can go watch while they were live streaming, going freaking crazy, and you can just live the moment again with them, and it's still awesome. It's still an awesome moment.
Well, yeah, and they have John says that that scene when he walks onto the bridge is the first time that they use original Star Wars, and it's the Force theme, right? And
Luke's theme,
Luke's theme, sorry. And I've seen YouTube videos where they mirror, or they overlay that music onto that entire scene with the hallway and everything like that, and you get... I mean, I'm kind of getting goosebumps now thinking about it. Just that sound, that music that John Williams created with that moment, and everyone who's grown up with Star Wars, who's, I mean, maybe not brand new to Star Wars, but if you know and have a love for this world, this universe, like those of us like us do, and people listening do, and like that is one of those things that you'll always remember, just because like we weren't around for the original trilogy, and we got the sequel trilogy, but you don't get to see them, your favorite characters, the original trilogy characters kind of in their own. This moment, you get what you always envisioned from a skill set, from their power, and to have that, intertwined with the original music, it's just an emotional, it plays on your emotions in so many different ways. And for that scene with Mando giving up Grogu, it's just, I mean, I teared up watching it again today. Like, him giving him away, because that's what he's supposed to do. It was so sad.
Just picking up his helmet, is just terrible. Oh God, I don't want to think about it.
And then he gestures up with his hand to his face, and he says he doesn't want to go with you, and then Luke says to him he wants your permission, because that's what Mando's become, is his protectorate, his parent, for lack of a better word. And so, but that, going back to the gallery, the fact that technology exists to have an as close to real Return of the Jedi Luke in that room, in that moment, I mean, they knocked it out of the park with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, I don't know. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, the gallery did a great job at encompassing what we all wanted to see and feel, and let us relive it one more time. And yeah, I mean, like I said, if you want to relive it, go watch some of those reaction videos, because they are, they're fun, and they get emotional, just like I know I was emotional the first time I watched. So it almost makes you relive your emotion, and Well, when you're really happy, who doesn't want to relive that?
For sure.
So, all right. You got any more thoughts on the Disney Gallery?
Not on the gallery. No.
I honestly just
I mean,
hope
I
they-
do, but we'll save that for another time.
I just hope that they come out with more. I mean, I just want more. I always want more. I'm selfish. I just want more Disney galleries. They could have done each episode breakdown again.
Oh, yeah.
And I would have been
For sure.
great with that. Shock collars.
It's okay.
Um,
The dogs are out and they're having fun, and that's okay.
yeah.
So our last little bit, we'll talk about you got some toy news.
Yeah,
to
just
share.
a little bit of toys. So if you know your local Walmarts and how empty they are for Star Wars toys, hopefully they're going to get some soon because we've got the Bad Batch Rex coming out with his little cloak over him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's selling for like $100 on the secondary market right now because only select stores have received them yet. And as far as I know, no online orders have gone out yet. And last time Walmart did an exclusive figure with massive online orders was the Clone Wars Ahsoka line with her and the Trooper and the Loyalist and the Mandalorian figure. And yeah, they royally screwed it up and oversold online and canceled a bunch of online orders. And then the in-store obviously was just a nightmare to find them. So if you find them in the wild, please go ahead and pick them up and mail them to me. My address is, I'm just kidding. But hopefully my online order does not get canceled from them. But those are hitting shelves anytime now. They are being released. And then the Bad Batch, oh, shoot. Which one is it? It's the red one that we see, the Clone Shock Trooper.
Oh, the Shock Trooper. Yeah.
Sorry. That's also being released through Walmart. And it should be coming out. It's also out right now, being found in stores. And yeah, that one's about double the retail price on the secondary market also. So it's making these incredibly hard to find because anyone that finds them just scoops them.
Well, that's the thing when you have online orders and in-store orders and they're that staggered. I mean, it happens with Lego too, where stores will put them out, 3 or 4 days before the street date, or before they're supposed to go live, and then people are picking them up and trying to flip them in a 3-day window because, oh look, nobody can get these yet. And it's like, well, they come out in 3 days, but I don't know how that is with action figures.
Yeah, sometimes it just depends, and that's what
If there's a street date.
Yeah, there's a street date occasionally for some, and then others there's not. And sometimes online beats the store. Sometimes stores beat online, and it also depends on which vendor you went through. Like if it's just a common figure, Entertainment Earth might beat Hasbro to get them to you, which I think is the most ridiculous thing ever because it's Hasbro's product.
Is that an online retailer, Entertainment Earth?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they do a lot of collectibles. They actually do a really good job. They're actually one of my preferred online retailers that I go through because they offer like collector's packaging and stuff like that. So things come to you.
And they're not crushed.
They're not crushed.
Right.
Yeah. They do a good job over there. Cheap plug for a different internet site, whatever. But I do enjoy going there for stuff because everything comes perfect if you order it that way. And then, but yeah, sometimes they beat the online or the Hasbro. Sometimes Hasbro beats everybody. Sometimes Walmart beats everybody. It just really depends on the distributors and how fast they can get them to who they're getting them to. Because obviously Hasbro has to fulfill these orders to these big box stores also. So it just kind of depends on who gets the order first. And then coming out at Target, you've got Admiral Rampart and Crosshair in his Imperial gear.
Oh, cool.
That's coming out. I think they actually got pushed by a month, so I think it's actually going to be October 1st now. So look out for those in store. And then they are coming out with new, Galaxy's Edge figures at Target also. They went back to which I'm okay with some of these because some of them look really nice, but they're doing their carbonized line. But they're doing them for the Galaxy's Edge figures. Wow, I'm really losing it tonight. But they're doing a Biker Scout, a Mountain Trooper, I think, and then one more. So they've got 3 carbonized troopers coming out for Target. So that's kind of cool. Just because, for me, it does give the troopers a different look. I especially like the troopers in this. Like the Vader looks good in it too, and so does Boba. But I do like that stormtrooper, and I mean, and the Sith trooper on the other side up there on my wall.
Yeah, it's like the metal. It's like a metallic. Those are the extra shiny ones,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think they look really, really good, and I can't wait to add some more to the collection. But those are the Galaxy's Edge exclusive ones. And then that does it for my action figures. I mean, they continuously release pops. I mean, all the Bad Batch ones are out at this point. I haven't seen any new releases for those that are coming, but they continue to release more. Because, yeah, that's what toy makers do. They make toys as long as people are buying them.
And they know people are going to buy them.
Oh, yeah.
Especially Star Wars.
Especially Star Wars right now. It's crazy. But, yeah. But other than that, that's it for my toy news. Because as everybody knows, I'm big into the Black Series figures, so that's my thing. Oh, we covered the Rancor got revealed as the.
I think we did in the last episode.
Yeah, the Rancor got revealed as the
HasLab.
And man, I'm only 2 months away from holding my.
Oh, your why can't I think of the name? Razor Crest.
Razor Crest. Sorry, yeah, I'm losing it. Right, I told you I'm losing it.
It's late.
It's getting late. Yeah, it's late for dads here.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Razor Crest comes in a couple months, and I cannot wait. Oh,
where are you gonna put it?
I might just hang it from the ceiling, right over your head.
That would be cool.
That way, I can stare at it while you're recording.
I'll just sit like this, and then people go, "Why can't I hear him?" It's because I'm just staring up
staring up at the
staring up
Razor Crest.
hoping it doesn't fall on my head.
I can't wait for the extra goodies too, because there's like we unlocked all the add-ons because Star Wars supports its stuff, and we got all the add-ons.
Yeah, because I don't know, because the HasLab that's going on or was going on was a Marvel one, I think.
They did the Sentinel,
and they were like, I don't think they had. At the time I saw the email, maybe they got there, but they didn't have full funding, and they were like 2 weeks out.
Oh, the Sentinel made it to a lot of stuff, I think. I mean, that thing's huge.
No, it's the one that was going on just...
Oh, I'm not sure what else they got going on, because
yeah.
I can't break into Marvel, too. I imagine what would happen to my room. I mean, I wouldn't have a room.
We've joked about an additional house. You would actually need that.
We would actually have a cabinet down the center, and that would be... You could only walk like a library of shelves.
You would have 2 little windows that we could see each other through, and the rest would just be surrounded by figures. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
Let's start building. We can do it.
It'd be like the Hogwarts library of action figures.
Yeah, like the middle can just be all that stuff, and then the table can still be, well, a table will be built into it, obviously. Gosh, I mean,
oh yeah,
and then it could go all around us.
It'd have like a bunk feel to it.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah. All right.
Well, all right. That's our DIY project for the winter.
Look forward to improvements to come to the Jedi Temple. All right. To just house more stuff. I'm sure I'll fill that before I buy anything else too.
Probably. I mean, you've got stuff here in boxes
that
have nowhere to go yet.
Stop it. Don't tell my secrets. And my wife doesn't listen to this, which is fine. But anyway, until next time, everybody.
May the Force be with you.